Hello, my name is Casey, and I'm going to be showing some of the photos I've taken around Europe that coincide with some of the concepts we've studied in our cross-cultural class for my final presentation. The first concept I'm going to focus on is that of the observer versus tourist versus participant. And so the first picture I have here is one of a water fountain we found on Lindau Island in Germany. And I think that we are displaying kind of an observer/tourist role in this photo because we're certainly trying to adapt to European culture by learning the different types of fountains and stuff, and trying to use those. But I think that we still kind of stood out some due to our high usage of water bottles, which I've noticed are not common over here, other than being used by American tourists. So that was something I noticed. And then the second picture is one I took at the Nachtmarkt open air market in Vienna, where we definitely played more of a tourist role. Many stall owners would target us to try to get us to buy things while not speaking to the locals. And I don't know what it was exactly that made us stand out, but it was very clear that we were not seen as participants of the culture, but as tourists passing through. And so the next concept that I'm going to focus on is the Austrian ideal of privacy. And for this, I chose a picture of my homestay. And so the first day when we were moving in, we had left our door open to our bedroom. And we were actually told by our host parents that we should close our doors whenever possible because that's what you do in Austria. And this was a very strange concept to me because my family does not do this in America, and I know that a lot of other people probably don't do it as well in America. Whereas here in Austria, people place a much higher level of importance on privacy. And I think that this photo is a good example of that practice. The next concept I've included is the Hofstede dimension of indulgence versus restraint, and that's just basically whether a culture is more indulgent, living in the here and now, versus restrained, which is basically like saving for the future, focusing on the future and that kind of thing. And so for this concept, I've included 3 pictures of storefronts that I took in Brussels, Belgium. The first one is the waffles, second is beer, and the third is the truffles. And these are a good representation of about 90% of the stores in Brussels. And so I think that this is a good emphasis of the indulgence that this culture seems to have rather than restraint. They seem to be a much more indulgent culture than one of restraint. The fourth concept that I chose was etic versus imic. Etic is the point of view of someone observing a culture from the outside, whereas imic is someone that is a part of the culture from the inside. And so the first picture I included for this concept was of a person riding a bicycle in Bregenz. And the second one is of bikes parked on the side of the street in Amsterdam, which was a very common view in that city. From the emic point of view, so from the point of view of the people living in those cultures, the bikes they're just an everyday part of life. They're not abnormal at all. They are used every single day. So, and I was actually extremely surprised that in Amsterdam, this is such a common thing that there are more bicycles than people in the city. And so from an edict point of view, so from looking at the culture from the outside, this is not a common practice at all in America. We do not have this many bikes. So it can seem very strange and unusual to have that many bicycles in the city because that's not how we do it where we're from. The last concept that I chose was the trait of agreeableness from the Big 5 personality traits. For this concept, I've included a picture of 2 Austrian girls I met in Salzburg while my group and I were hiking. They were extremely nice and offered to take pictures of us. and asked us about our travels, and they just wanted to know everything about us, basically. And this surprised me because I'd had the notion when I first came to Austria that people would be more private and reserved, but this encounter, among many others, has shown me that a lot of Austrians are actually very agreeable and very friendly, which was very surprising. So that's all I have. Thank you for listening.